بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So inshallah we're going to discuss this hadith here, which the main statement that's always quoted in the hadith is نافق حنظلة أن ساعة فساعة يا ساعة وساعة. So let's go through this here. So the first hadith we have here, we're discussing the Sahabi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. His name is Hanzala ibn. Now Hanzala, the Qalisin, keep this word in mind because this hadith will come in, or has already come previously in the previously in terms of the text, not in for our lessons. In Kitab al-Fada'il al-Quran, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says that the example of a munafiq and a believer in regards to the Quran. So one of them is a Qalisin. It's a kind of, this is what it is basically. It's like a melon-like fruit, but it's supposed to be very bitter. Now here, there's two. Imam al-Qal rahmatullah alayhi mentions either Rubayyi ya Rabi'. When a Sahabi is not very, very famous, his name has not come often, then this is what happens. I'm not really sure. So Rabi' is fa'il, and Rubayyi is fa'il. Basically, it's a tasghir. So it's two possibilities. His name is Asidi or Usaidi. There's two opinions regarding this. And the one thing that we do know is that he lived till after, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent him to Ta'if for a mission, and he used to write wahi for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now it's also important to remember, sometimes you get ishtibah, you get confusion between two Sahabi. There's another Sahabi called Hanzala. He was the one who was Shaheed, who became Shaheed in the Battle of Uhud. So his name is Hanzala ibn Abi Amir. And his father was a munafiq. His father was one of the people who called Al-Fasiq. The Prophet ﷺ called him Al-Fasiq. So his son is Hanzala. So he passed the Battle of Uhud. This is on a side note here. It's very interesting. So his father was Abu Amir. He's not well known like that common. But he one that caused a lot of problems against the Muslims. And there was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. So Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he was also a munafiq. And he was one of the Sayyid al-Munafiqeen. People knew that, you could tell clearly he was a munafiq. So on the day of, you will know his story, that he's Ghasil al-Malaika. The Malaika gave him a bath on the day of Uhud, because what happened was, the Battle of Uhud took place on the day of Saturday. And the Muslims then Mashura on Friday after Jumu'ah. On Friday after Jumu'ah, the nikah was set. He was already married. And he got married to Jamila. There's all additional stuff. It's for information, not part of the hadith. Jamila binti Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. So he was from the Munafiqun. He's from the Munafiq. The two of them got married, and they were both Mu'min and Mu'minah. And from them they had one son called, I think, Abdullah, I'm not sure. His name he became Ibn Ghasil al-Malaika. And you find it in books of Riwayah. So both of them, he was a Munafiq, he was against Prophet ﷺ, and both of them were like probably good buddies. They got their children married, but both of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were believers and halal. But nonetheless, this is a different Hanzala, not the Hanzala passed away in Battle of Uhud. So he says, لقيني أبو بكر رضي الله تعالى عنه. I met Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه. But he said, Abu Bakr met me, meaning Abu Bakr came. فقال كيف أنت يا حنظلة. Now this كيف أنت, we don't know what he's asking about. So how are you, meaning? How are you coming along in terms of revision? How are you coming along in terms of your health? How are you coming along in terms of finances? It could be anything, we don't know the context. So it could be he was asking regarding his deen. How are you religious-wise, ya Hanzala? Or just how are you? You okay? Your health? قلت. So now Hanzala said, نافق حنظلة. This is called iltifat. This is called iltifat. Yes? Instead of saying نافقت, or you can call it tajdeed. Instead of saying نافقت, he said نافق حنظلة. He separated himself from the nifaq. Yes? قال سبحان الله. He said, Subhanallah, what are you saying? How can you be a munafiq? I know you to be a believer. How can you say I'm a munafiq? So then he said this. قلت, so Hanzala said, نكون عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We sit with Rasulullah. We are by Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the jumla haliya is يذكرنا بالنار والجنة. And he reminds us, talk to us about Jannah and Jahannam. كأننا. And we're going to read it here. It's ra'yu or ra'ya. It's both ways of doing it. I'll explain the both ways later on. As though ra'ya aynin. As though we are seeing Jannah and Jahannam with our eyes. فإذا خرجنا من عند رسول الله. When we leave from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, آفسنا الأزواج. We become involved with our azwaj. I'll explain that more detail later on. And our children. And day'at means land. Our land and our farmland. نسينا كثيرا. So, yes, فإذا, this is the zarf. And نسينا كثيرا is the main fa'il. نسينا كثيرا إذا خرجنا. Correct? Now, nafaqa Hanzala, when you say the word nafaqa Hanzala, what does the word nafaqa mean? So, lughatan and istilahan. In a linguistic perspective, what does nafaqa mean? And also in the Sharia, what does nafaqa mean? Nifaq mean. So, nafaqa yanfuqu nafqan, it has the meaning of reaching an end. So, either you reach the end of a physical path, or you reach the end of a resource or a material. Fahim? So, for example, you would say, nafaqa zad, nafaqa darahim, meaning they just gone, they just finished, they come to an end. All my dirhams are finished, my money is gone, my pounds are finished. You understand? Acha. When you say nafaqa dabba, yeah, nafaqati dabba would mean the animal died, meaning its life has come to an end. Similarly, you have al-mata'. So now, nafaqa al-mata' is kind of different. When you say nafaqa al-mata', they don't say nafaqa, it means here, it came to an end. They say nafaqa al-mata', when you use it for goods, it means that the goods have become, the availability is less, coming to an end. I.e., it's like widespread. It's in demand. It's in high demand. Similarly, if you say nafaqat al-mar'atu, is a young girl or a girl, she's 19, 20, 21. So now her demand is coming to her availability is coming to an end. Meaning, many people are asking for her hand in marriage. So nafaqat al-mar'atu doesn't mean she became munafiq. It means what? Many people are asking for her hand in marriage because her availability is coming to an end. Fahim? If you say a yarbu is like a rat. It's kind of a rat. It's not. It's a rodent, but it lives in the desert. It's not like a house rat, but it's similar. It's a similar thing. So if you say nafaqa al-yarbu, it's called this word. I don't know what this word is. Meaning it's a rat. It's a genes of a species of a rat. What does it mean? It came to the end of its tunnel. Okay. So what would happen is, the yarbu rat. Obviously, if you live in the desert and you have a hole, one animal comes down into it to attack it, what's going to happen? It's gone, isn't it? So what does it create? An escape. So when you say nafaqa al-yarbu, it means here, kharaja min juhrihi adkhala fi juhri. It went into its juhr, it went into its hole, and then the yarbu has it has 2-3 exits from its emergency exits. And one of the exits is open, you can see it, and the other one is covered with a bit of sand. So nobody comes from that side. That's always the emergency exit. When you pull out from the sand, then it just busts open. It's softer. You understand? It's only got not that thick. So that's his escape route. So it's a nafaqa al-yarbu, it went into its hole or came up from the other, meaning it reached the end of its path. Correct? Anfaqa al-mal, you're making the money come to an end by spending it. Acha. When you say nafaqa al-bida'a, this comes in hadith in Kitab al-Buyu. If you do tanfiq, meaning, remember nafaqa al-mata' means the goods are coming to an end, meaning not coming to an end, the availability is coming to an end, meaning they are in high demand. So nafaqa, to promote and push the sale of, make them high in demand, advertise, promote. So it comes in the hadith. If you do tanfiq, you do nafaqa, you try to make your goods you try to promote your goods or push your goods by taking a false oath that wallahi this is the best in the market, wallahi only cost me £5, wallahi I'll give you the best price, wallahi I can't find anything better like this. This is called what? There will be no barakah. And in nafaqa al-yarbu, it means that same thing I mentioned before. Now, because the yarbu, when it does nafaqa, it reaches the end of the other side. So then the meaning that we then use for nifaq is when somebody, like the yarbu, it goes from one end, but it actually comes out from the other end. So it basically has two sides, two-sidedness. And then they say here, إِذْ أَظْهَرَ خِلَافَ مَا يُبْتِنْ. When you make apparent, you show, you depict something which is contrary to your internal. And that's why the word nifaq. So the biggest form of nifaq is to show that you're a believer whilst inside you're actually not a believer. So if we look at here, nifaq, lughatan. So in lughatan, nifaq would mean you do something contrary to what's inside of your heart, or you have two kind of states. For him, that's why Hanzalة, you must remember that nowadays it's not that Sahaba are not educated, is that, like, for example, Salah, the first one was Salah. When we grow up with Salah from 3, 4, we say in Urdu namaz, but if you're in Arabic, say Salah, Salah, Salah. So the kids know what Salah means. Because that's the logha, the word Salah in the logha means our arkan. But the Sahaba, the word Salah didn't mean that. They had to be taught that the word Salah had another meaning in the Arab language. Zakah meant purity. They didn't mean zakat to give 2.5% or 1/4 of your wealth. For him, they knew Hajj was used for Baytullah. You understand? Some some riwayat had some, so some words they had an istilah that was they used it in a way that the Sahaba, the Arabs never used it. So it linked, but now it had a new term. Like for example, the farad, wajaba. So if you look at the word wajaba, فَإِذَا وَجَبَتْ جُنُوبُهَا. Wajaba means is to fall. When something falls, the animal now, you slaughter an animal, a camel, and it falls down. It's not going anywhere now, it's finished. So now we say here, wajib means binding. But when you say the Sahaba said wajib, it's like, what's the wajib? For him, they understand wajib means to fall. For him. So similarly, for example, fa'il. Fa'il to them didn't mean the person who's doing the subject. Maf'ul bihi didn't have that meaning. You find it. So nafaqa, initially, what does the word nifaq and how does it work and the technicalities, they understand. So he's saying nafaqa hanzala. So he has a lugwi meaning, he's an Arab, so he knows Arabic language. So he's saying nafaqa hanzala. So he's thinking, well, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has criticized, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned severe warnings for the munafiqun. So he's thinking that nifaq means lughatan. All of these terms I'm going to mention are lughatan nifaq. They are in lugha. The word nifaq comes up on this. Why? One is nifaq i'tiqadi. What does nifaq i'tiqadi mean? That you say you do idharul Islam. Like what the munafiqun, what we know as the munafiqun in Medina, what do you do? You say, we are believers. But when they were leaving the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innama nahnu mustahzi'un, inna ma'akum, wa idha khalaw ila shayatin qalu, inna ma'akum, innama nahnu mustahzi'un." We are really with you. Izharul Islam wa ibtan, and to keep conceal what al-kufr. That's what we call nifaq of i'tiqad. Fahim? Now the word nifaq also comes under amal. You also have nifaq in terms of amal. Now, suratan. So we know for sure this is now what is intended from the hadith. That if you do this kind of nifaq, this is now going to go in fire of Jahannam. You have nifaq in amal, which is not kufr. You can have one nifaq in amal, which is actually nifaq shari'i. So this is where you can say this is nifaqun shari'iyun. You say nifaq i'tiqadi, and this is actually Sharia says this is also nifaqun shari'iyun. Correct? This is in Sharia, this is also nifaq. And then you have amali. Now, you can have a situation where you say something, but you don't, so you believe, but you don't, but your words and your actions don't match. Are you following? So Allah just says, لَمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Yes? Ajay. Now, when you say something which you yourself don't do, this can be two things. One is an da'fin and one is an khada'in. Are you following? The an khada'in, this is also here, nifaq, but nifaqun amali. Nifaqun amaliyun. What is this? Nifaqun amaliyun. And this is actually a nifaq. This is okay, meaning this is, everybody will have this. For example, so nifaqun and khada'in will mean, for example, I'm saying, make sure you spend 1 hour at home reading. Yeah? Who's going to spend 1 hour reading? Which the guy's got no clue, wasting his time reading. That's not, I'm saying one thing, and then myself, I am going against it. But deceivingly. Make sure you perform tahajjud. This could even almost be like kufr, because if you're making mockery of tahajjud, it can be kufr. But let's just say, for example, it's not kufr. So make sure you pray tahajjud. It's very important. It's got a very short night. And I have a chance at night time. It's early in the morning, or I've woken up at time. You want to pray tahajjud? Who's going to pray tahajjud? Shouldn't say that. That might be even kufr. You've got time for that. But that's now I'm deceiving. I'm telling you to do something. I myself is laughing about it. And that was the easy, because you can't, the other was the easy. I'm unable to. You don't have the time, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the energy, you don't have the willpower. This is okay, and especially for a khatib or anything, because you can't do every single amal. If you're doing every single amal, you wouldn't have time to give the nasiha. Because the adhkar, how many adhkar there? How many adhkar, how many voluntary prayers, how many fasts, sawm, nafil umrah, is so many things. And sometimes a human being has weaknesses. So if you say, look, let's say for example, I said, look, you're a hafiz of the Quran. Trying to at least read 1.5, 2 juz a day. And I only read 1 juz a day. I read half a juz a day. I read quarter juz a day. So I'm telling to do something, and I myself am not doing that. But I'm doing because I'm ajiz. I can't do it. I'm not saying that like a mockery of what you're doing or deceiving you. You understand? So sometimes, lughatan, what is this? The word definition of nifaq fits upon this. Do you understand? So sometimes people have this misconception because of the lugha. So he may have had this understanding that his so certain situations like the zahir and the batin or two different situations happening because of your weakness is two things, isn't it? So that may seem like nifaq on the face of it, but that's not the nifaq that's intended. This will lead to the fire of Jahannam. This is very hypocritical, and it could also end up leading to kufr and disbelief, but in itself is not kufr. Fahim? Yes, like for example, that's why the Prophet ﷺ, we'll discuss this in Kitab Nifaq later on, Babu Nifaq, inshallah. You understand so far? So what was he getting confused? What was his problem? What was his question? That look, we have nifaq, it seems that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're not deceiving anybody, but we have two states. Yes? When we have Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we have one state, and then when we go away from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, out of our weakness, we go back to a previous state, a lower state. But this comes under the state of lugha of nifaq, meaning it's what we show to Rasulullah different to what we have behind his back. But it's not deceptively, it's basically out of weakness. But he wanted this clarification. He considered this to be also from these two categories. Do you understand? Actually, that's why he had this question. Now let's just solve a few of the lugha. We have the word here, ra'ya'ayn, ya ra'yu'aynin. So you can read this in a few ways. One is ka'annana nara ra'ya'aynin. If you read it mansoob, the ulama have said that the word nara is mahdhuf here. It's a fa'al mahdhuf. Ay ka'anna nara ra'ya'aynin. It is as though we are seeing of our very own eyes. كأننا نرى رأي عين. So this is مفعول مطلق. This is مفعول مطلق. Correct? And this is فعل محذوف. Or it could be كأننا رأي عين. What can it be? كأننا رأي عين. And the word رأي is a masdar. It's a masdar. And we say it's مجاز في الصيغة. What does مجاز في الصيغة mean? الصيغة is used لغير ما وضع له. So the masdar is used to show a verbal noun. However, you can have the masdar in the ma'na of ism al-fa'ali. What's ism al-fa'ali? Typo, ism al-fa'il. You think, I don't know what's ism al-fa'il. It's some new kind of sort of term. It's ism al-fa'il lil-mubalagha. What is it? Ism al-fa'il lil-mubalagha. So what you can say is, the example that they give in the book is Zaydun adlun. So adl means to be just or justice. But you can say Zaydun adlun, meaning Zayd is very just. I.e. Zayd is the personification of justice. So you can use the masdar as ism al-fa'il. So كأن رأيو. So كأن حرف مشبه بالفعل, the ism, and the khabar is رأيو. And it's ism حرف مشبه بالفعل, the ism, and the whole jumla is the khabar. فهمت? And here that one word is the khabar. And the question is, mudhakkar is not matching in number and gender. The masdar doesn't have number and gender. Yes, the masdar can mufrad. You could say, for example, Fatimatu adlun. Yes? Do you understand? Fatimatu adlun, an-nisa'u adlun. So when you have the masdar used as an adjective, like ism al-fa'il or ism al-maf'ul, then it doesn't change number, it just says as it is. And that's ta'keed. Do you understand? So, كَأَنَّا رَأْيُ عَيْنٍ. Even like ta'keed, as though we are seeing it with our very own eyes. We are seeing it with our very own eyes. We can see Jannah with our own eyes. We can see Jahannam with our very own eyes. Achha. Afasna. Now, you say Afasna al-azwaja wal-awlada wal-day'at. We're going to afas, there's a few different lughat and there's different... Again, we're going to keep to the text that's in Mishkaat. There's different riwayat. So some say it means afas means to get involved in. So alaja. You start dealing with them. So you have our wives, you have to deal with them. You spend time with them, our children, our markets. Some say afasa means to like play with them, to play with our families. We play with our children. And then so you do afasna with azwaj, you do afasna with children, and then day'at. Again, there's more. We just get the meaning here, alaja. Inshallah, in Muslim Sharif and have different riwayat. You can go through it, inshallah. Achha. So he says to treat, to tackle, to get involved in, to become busy with. So we become busy with easy translation will encompass all the ma'ani. So we become busy with our wives, our children, our day'at. And day'at refers to land and estate. Land or estate. We become busy with our land. In Medina Munawwara, there are many farmers. So they used to have the date palms and all of those things. It takes a lot of time. You have to plant them, you have to irrigate them. And da' yadi'u means to go to waste, isn't it? So da' yadi'u means to go to waste. So why is it called day'a? So some say it's called day'a because if you don't look after it, the land goes to waste. Meaning it just gets full of herbs and, not herbs, but what do you call it? Yeah. The non-wanted grass, what's it called? Weed. It gets filled with weed and all that kind of stuff. Achha. So when this happens, when we become إذا خرجنا من عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عافصنا الأزواج والأولاد والضياء نسينا كثيرا. Now we can have two possibilities here, a few possibilities regarding كثيرا. One possibility is the word kathir is maf'ulun bihi. At the end of the day, it makes no difference really. It wouldn't make a significant difference what the mafhum is. It's the same thing. We forget. But this technically, the word kathir can maf'ul bihi. We forget many things. What happens? We forget many things, yes? Number two is, you get it? So, nasina ay ashya'a kathira. Correct? So you have ashya is mahzuf. Basically, kathira is the not of the mahzuf. Shay'an kathira. The next possible is maf'ul mutlaq. What's maf'ul mutlaq? Like, but some have said it in the book, in the shuruh, but it would be very similar to maf'ul bihi. Because the ta'keed in a fa'al muta'addi ends up still being linked to the maf'ul bihi in a way. Not to the fa'al that much. It does, but they wouldn't. I cannot figure out a significant difference between the maf'ul bihi tarjuma and the maf'um and the maf'ul mutlaq maf'um. There may be one, but I cannot figure out. So it's either kathir is the so kathir is basically the not of the maf'ul bihi or the not of the maf'ul mutlaq. Ay nasina nisyanan kathiran. Ay nasina nisyanan kathiran. Okay, so this is another possibility. But to me, this is very, very similar. The next possibility is maf'ulun fihi. What's the next possibility? Maf'ulun fihi. What does maf'ulun fihi mean? What's the mahzuf? Because again, kathir is a na'at, isn't it? So the man'ut is going mahzuf. So either it's maf'ul bihi, the maf'ul mutlaq, or is a maf'ul fihi. Yes? So kathir is a na'at. What's a man'ut mahzuf? So some say it can be zamanan. What does this mean? That we often forget to act upon these things. There's something called recollection failure. I'm not sure if it's the exact term. I just Google it, so I'm not really expert in this. But in terms of the English term. But what can happen? Two types of forgetfulness. One nisyan is, I don't know. You said, for example, yesterday you said, there's no class today. Said, no. No, you said it. I got a record. It's like, I don't remember saying this. That's one type of nisyan that I don't recall. And the other nisyan is, it's back of your mind nisyan. Upon prompting, you can remember. Are you following? So this first meaning could mean we forget. We don't forget. If we forget that you told us this, we forget that you told us this. We don't even remember. Correct? Or it could mean we forget. But so this would mean that it's no longer. And I don't think it would mean totally forget that we can't even remember ever. It would mean it's what? It's the back of our mind. We don't remember to do it. So this seems better to me. I don't think the Sahaba say, "Oh, I forgot you told us that Jannah is like this. I forgot you told us about death." So I don't think this is what happened. I don't think they forget what the Prophet told them. I think they forget. Yes. Like for example, I said to you, Abdullah, what you need to do is that, you know the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we learn all of them, try to implement them. He said, Nasitu kathiran. So I said, okay, what's the dua before eating? You read it to me. I said, no, I know the duas, but what do I do? At the time of eating, time of drinking, time before going to sleep, what do? I forget to read them. So it means many times it's in our memory, but at the time to act upon it, we forget to act upon it. Do you understand? So this is to me seems like a better possibility. That we often forget nasina kathiran because we have tadhkir in it. The Prophet ﷺ reminds us of Jannah and Jahannam. Kanna ra'yu aynin. We are seeing it, we forget, when we go back, we don't forget about Jannah. We don't forget about Jahannam. That it's not, we don't remember, oh, there's something called Jannah. We forget something called Jahannam. But rather, when you are that consciousness, nasina kathiran, we lose consciousness of it. You get it? So we can translate it here. Not translate it, but that way we lose. I'm not going to spell consciousness properly. Yes, without autocorrect. Yes, C-O-N. Come on. C-I-O-S. Something towards the end. Yes, will you understand it? Acha. You got it? The sanasina kathiran. Acha. So then the Prophet sallallahu. So then they went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think I missed out a line in here. So then what happened? Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said, I experienced the same thing. I had the same problem. Let's go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's see what he says. So again, from here we learn that even though this is not a fiqhi masla, what is this? A spiritual masla, like not understanding certain like conditions of the heart, condition of the mind. So they went to somebody who would educate them. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this. Again, this is a copy and paste from one of the programs. Not alladhi, it's supposed to be walladhi. Is it walladhi yours? Yeah, so walladhi. So walladhi nafsi biyadihi. And alladhi, wow, it's qasam. Alladhi nafsi biyadihi is a jawab al-qasam. Alladhi, I swear by the one. Nafsi is mubtada, biyadihi is a khabar. My soul is in his hands. So I swear by the one in whose hands is my soul, meaning I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لو تدومون. So dama yadumu is dauman, to remain. لو تدومون, if you were to remain على ما تكونون عندي وفي الذكر, if you were to remain on the state that you are when you are by me, and if you were to remain in dhikr, the malaika lasafahatkum al malaika, the malaika would do musafaha, come and shake your hands, ala furushikum wa fi turuqukum, on your, in your beds, when you're in your beds and when you are in your paths. ولكن يا حنظلة ساعة وساعة ثلاث مرات رواه Muslim. So there's a few things in here we're going to go through bit by bit. Everybody following so far? Any questions? Okay. So we have to look here. لو تدومون. So dama yadumu, to remain. So if you were to remain, is the shart. Okay. Now, what's this? So now we have here وفي الذكر. What's this وفي الذكر أطفا? So one possibility is لو تدومون. So if you were to remain على ما تكون عندي, ma is a mawsula, correct? And every mawsula has a bayan, whether it's mentioned or not. It's not mentioned here. We're going to add it in here, hal. Yes? Correct? So if you were to remain on this condition that you are when you are by me, and if you were to remain in dhikr, are you following? That's one possibility of doing the i'rab. So لو تدومون على ولو تدومون في الذكر. अच्छा. The second possibility is لو تدومون على ما تكونون عندي وفي الذكر. Yes? So again, in terms of meaning, I didn't see a clear difference. In terms of i'rab, it is this. Okay? Correct? Correct? Achha. Now there's one thing here, inshallah, we have to go through it tomorrow, inshallah, more detail. Everybody follow? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So we continue with what we were discussing yesterday. So what we said was, the last thing we had discussed was أو, so والواو حقيقة أو مجاز بمعنى أو. What does this mean? What we have here, we have the word here لو تدومون على ما تكونون عندي وفي الذكر. What does واو mean? And, correct? Yes? So when you have the word wow, it means both things. جاء زيد وأمر, which means Zayd and Amr both came. You guys follow me? Yes? And you just can't randomly say wow بمعنى أو. I can't say, for example, جاء زيد وأمر, and then say, oh, I mean here, oh. That's not how it works. What we're saying is that when we have the particle wow in a sentence which is a shart or a command or a nafi, then the meaning of wow is for al-jam'u, to bring two things together. That's what wow is for. So wow brings both things together. So now if we have wow in a shart or a command, then it can sometimes be mean you have to do both things. Both things are impermissible. One of the two things. Do you understand? You get what I'm saying? Let's say for example here. We have here من كان عدوا لله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله. من كان عدوا لله وملائكته ورسله وجبريل وميكال. Okay, we have this in front of us. Now, if you look at the word wow, it means here jama, to bring everything together. Are you following? Which means whoever's an enemy for all, فإن الله عدو للكافرين. And if you're an enemy for only one or only two, then obviously context will understand. But you get it. So when wow comes in a shart or a shart or an amar or nahi, then you have to analyze it a bit deeper. It doesn't simply mean like you include every single person. So this ayah is not telling us whoever's an enemy for every single one of them, then the ruling of adun al-kafirin applies. What does this wow in this ayah mean? Man kana adun, for any one of these, either this or this or this or this, then he's an enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you understand? Does it make sense? Are you guys following? Yeah? So, similar another example here. فَانْكِهُ مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاث وَرُبَاعَ. Again, you have an amr. So it doesn't mean you can do jama' between them. This waw is ma'na aw, because it comes in an amr. So there's more details. When waw comes in an amr or a shart, it can sometimes have the meaning of aw. Aw. So mathna, you can marry, you're allowed to have 2, 3, or 4 wives. Fahint? You understand? So in this ayah, what do we have? Waw ma'na aw. Does that make sense? Yes? So now, if we take the meaning of aw, we're saying here, aw bi ma'na, waw bi ma'na aw. What does this mean? If we say waw is in the meaning of jama', both things, this means that if you stay you have to have 2 conditions. You have to have your situation and your condition must remain the same as it is when you're with me, number 1. And number 2 is you have to remain in dhikr. And if both of these things hold true, then safahatkum al-malaika. Are you following? And if it's ma'na aw, it means if any of these 2 things happen. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Are you following? Now, in the riwayah of Muslim, it has لو تدومون على ما تكونون عندي وفي الذكر. Yes? So لو تدومون على ما تكونون عندي وفي الذكر. It's the same as our riwayah. It's the same riwayah up here. Achha. Now, in you were just asking right now that it says adf. What does it say in yours? A copy? It says adfun. Adfu tafsir. So when it says adfu tafsir, what we're saying here is that normally the ma'tuf alay and the ma'tuf, the asl, so waw, the haqiqah meaning of waw has a few elements. One is to make the ma'tuf and ma'tuf alay come in the same ruling as the first meaning. And the second meaning is also mughayara, the default. That the mudaf ilay and the mudaf are 2 separate things. Are you following? However, sometimes you have a waw and the ma'tuf alay and ma'tuf are not ghayr, not mughayr. They're not different things, they're actually the same thing. And the second one can be a tafsir for the first. So it's like you're saying and this, but you're actually clarifying the first. So in this scenario, the ma'tuf alay is mufassar, is being explained, and the ma'tuf is a mufassir. Are you following? So we have here now لو تدومون على ما تكونون عندي أي في الذكر. If you were to remain in the state that you are when you are by me, and you were to remain in dhikr, that means the waw is for jama', both things. Or waw ma'na aw. If you were to remain in the state that you are when you are by me, or if you were to remain in the state of dhikr, or if you were to remain in this, that's when you have waw ma'na aw. Or the third scenario is waw ma'na tafsir. If you were to remain in the state that you are when you are by me, what state are you in when you are by me? Fi dhikr. So it's 3 possible. If you summarize, I don't have a chart for this one. If you summarize it here, waw, the waw can be here for al-jam'u, which means you have to remain in both conditions. Number 2, waw is ma'na aw, either one of 2, or waw is for tafsir, meaning if you remain in the state of dhikr. Does that make sense? So there's 3 possibilities for the meaning of this waw here. Acha. Then the last part of the hadith is if you were to remain in this, whether you remain in both conditions, either condition or the one condition that is via tafsir, what will happen? لَصَافَحَتْكُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ عَلَى فُرُشِكُمْ وَفِي طُرِقِكُمْ. The malaika will do musafaha with you عَلَى فُرُشِكُمْ, in your bedding, وَفِي طُرِقِكُمْ, and in your paths when you are in the way. Now, what does this mean here? What do we have here? What we find, we have this mention already in some other places. What comes in the hadith? لا يقعد قوم يذكرون الله إلا حفتهم الملائكة. This came early in the Bab. That when a qawm, a group of people sit to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the malaika and the malaika enshrouds them. So here is not safatkum al malaika, but what we can, if we say either safatkum al malaika is if it can. So here we have a liqa, you have a liqa, or you have ijtima'. So even when you do zikr, you have ijtima' with the malaika, or you have a liqa which is unseen liqa. Are you following? Correct? This is in the ghaib, we can't see this. At the time of Maut, Mujahid Rahmatullah alayhi says, Inna alladhina qalu Rabbuna Allah. Those who say Allah, they remain, Allah is my Lord, they remain steadfast on the deen. Tatanazzalu alayhimul malaika. The malaika descend upon them. What do the malaika say? Allah takhafu wa la tahzanu wa abshiru bil jannati allati kuntum tu'adun. Meaning, when they're dying. So when they're in the last moments of the dunya and the first moments of the hereafter, when they're transferring from the dunya to the hereafter, Allah opens the unseen. At that time, what happens? The malaika come unto them. And one of the reasons is, if you look at it as of this hadith, why? Because when you're in the last moments of death, when you're in the last moment before you die, then your full focus, Allah turns the full focus of the believer to the hereafter. So now at that time what happens here? So even though you're on your paths and you're on your furush, what happens? Your full attention, your full dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most it could ever be. So the malaika come, you can see malaika, mushahadatan. Are you following? So we have hadith of Quranic verses which show us that the malaika meet us whilst they are ghaib from us, or the malaika will meet us at the time of death when they are shahid to us. So in this hadith, what's it referring to? Is it referring to when they come and they are ghaib from us, or they come and they're shahid to us? So if you look at it here, let's have a look at this one. So the way the malaika do musafaha to us, again, this is just certain things, this can be added in, there may be a few errors in here. This is what best I try to understand this based on the shuruh. The malaika when they do musafaha with us, one possibility is that the malaika come in the form of an angel. The malaika come in the form of an angel. The second possibility is the malaika come in the form of an insan. It comes in the form of an insan. If it comes in the form of malaika, they can be ghaib from us. Now, what we say when they're ghaib from us, then we say the hadith haffatumul malaika applies. So malaika, and then but here musafaha will mean literal musafaha. Musafaha will be majaz for liqa and iltiqa and ijtima. You understand? So the malaika come in a form of the malaika, but they're unseen to our eyes, and they come in the form haffatumul malaika. We can't see them, but they don't do musafaha. Musafaha doesn't mean musafaha. It means a lower level, which is before musafaha, which is iltiqa and ijtima. They come and they gather with us. The malaikatul rahmah, the malaikatul dhikr, the malaikatan fudula. If they are ayanan, there's two surah. One is in the dunya, meaning normal state, and one is in the maut, meaning they come as angels. So to come in the form of a malak, whilst we're in the dunya alive, normal, it seems, but it's not possible. Why? Because regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى. He only saw Jibreel Amin in his original form twice, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Are you following? So if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam only saw Allah twice, sorry, if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam only saw the angel Jibreel twice in his original form, then it's not possible for a normal human being to reach that level. Do you understand? So we say here, in the dunya, normal circumstances, only the prophets can see the malak in the original form. At the time of death, it is possible then, because it's the ghaib, the unseen has come. So it's possible that the malak that descend are in the original form, and the ghaib becomes open. Are you following? Yes? Are you following? Make sense? So far so good? Yes? And can the malak come in a form of an insan where you can actually see them? We find it's a thabit for the anbiya, and it's also a thabit for ghayr anbiya. For example, we have here, فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. When Jibreel came to Maryam alayhi salam to give her glad tidings of Isa, فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. So Maryam is not a messenger, she's not a prophet, yet the angel came in human form to her. وَلَمَّا جَاءَ رُسُلُنَا لُوطًا سِيءَ بِهِمْ وَضَاقَ بِهِمْ زَرْعًا. When the angels came to Sayyidina Lut alayhi salatu wasalam, he became scared. He didn't know they were malak at first. And they said, Inna Rasul Rabbik. So they came in human form. He didn't know they were malak. And Sayyidina Ibrahim, Hal ataka hadith dayf Ibrahim al-Mukramin. Even when the angels came to Sayyidina Ibrahim, he didn't know they were angels at first. They came in human form. So we have two ayat where they say that they came in human form, and they also to Anbiya. But we also have one ayah where they say that they came to Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam as a human form as well. So this is also, is this possible? We say it is possible. It's thabit for Maryam alayhi salam. فَتَمَثَّلَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. Are you following? Acha. Now based on this, Qurtubi rahmatullahi alayhi, I'm not sure if it's Imam Qurtubi Sahib al-Tafsir or Qurtubi Sahib Sharaf Muslim. There's two Qurtubis, one's a teacher, one's a student. So one wrote the Tafsir al-Ahkam al-Quran, is a tafsir, and one wrote al-Mufhim lima ashkala min Muslim or something like that. It's a Sharaf Muslim. So I'm not sure which Qurtubi this is. I should have checked it. He says this hadith rejects the claim that people can see the malak in human form. Why? Because what happened when Hanzala made his complaint? Hanzala said, this is Nafaq Hanzala. And Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala also said, well, I have the same situation. I forget a lot of stuff, or I forget many times when I'm at home. So if Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu is Sayyid al-Bashar, meaning after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's afdal, not Sayyid al-Bashar, sorry, my mistake. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, he's afdalun nasi ba'da al-anbiya. That's our ijma'. He's the best of all human beings after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the other anbiya. If he didn't get this stage, then it's ba'id that anybody can get this stage where they can have continuous remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to a stage where the malaika come and do musafaha with them. This is his opinion. Acha. Correct? So he's saying here that law tadumuna, you can't remain in this state, because Abu Bakr radiallahu never remained in this state. He's saying that I don't have this state as well. So therefore it is impossible for anybody to have this thing that we meet the malak in a human form in dunya. Because we know meeting the malak in a malak form with our own eyes is not possible. Anybody can have ijtima' with the malak when they do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hafatum al-malaika. And we do have Sayyidina Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, tabathabaha basharan sawiyya. But for our ummah, still Prophet has negated this. If Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala never had it, nobody's going to have it. That's his statement. Do you understand? Okay. However, it is possible, meaning as a matter of, I'm not saying a thabit, I'm not saying not thabit. You have to remember this principle, that if you have, this is what we call adamu shart, la yastazimu adamu al-mashrut. Let me give you an example. If you say to your daughter, if you complete your hifz, I will take you for umrah. Yes? What does this mean? It means that if she completes hifz, she will go for umrah. Correct? But it doesn't mean if she never completed the hifz, you didn't take her for umrah. Because why? She may have said, well, I couldn't do the hifz, but I did an alimi course. Okay, I'm still happy with you. I'll still take it for umrah. Another shart. So shart makes mashrut automatically. But not having the shart doesn't necessarily mean you don't get the mashrut, the jawabu shart. There may be another cause for that, unless there's only one cause. But if there are multiple causes for something, for going for umrah, taking your daughter for umrah, there's not only one reason. It may be because she finished her alimiya course, she did something else well, you want to give another gift. So one of the things that may have led to it was completing the hifz. So if you see her in umrah, you can't deduce that she finished her hifz. It may be another reason. But if you are an honest person and she didn't hifz, then you can deduce that you would have taken her for umrah. Illa masha'Allah. You understand? So we're saying if you remain in a state of dhikr, you will do, the malaika will come and do musafaha with you. But you can't remain in a state of dhikr 100%, like how Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala also said, I cannot remain in a state of dhikr. Are you following? But it could be another reason. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the malaika to come in human form, to meet the human beings without them knowing, or with them knowing, not because they remain in dhikr continuously, but because there's a karama, just to give them this honor, for whatever reason it may be. Yes? So they will not achieve it via the shart. They will achieve it via something else. So if, again, I'm not saying that it's a thabit, but if we say musafahatul malaika takes place, malaika come in human form and meet somebody. Let's say, for example, somebody is a shaheed, he's dying, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honor him, not tatanazzalu alayhim al-malaika, that's thabit. But before that, in his dunya, comes and talks to him. He said, who is that person? I don't know. Somebody just came and talked to me. He's a human being, I don't know who he was. It can happen karamatan. So we say that the musafahatul malaika, the liqa'ul malaika, the ijtima'ul malak, it didn't come because of dawamul dhikr, because that's not possible. But it came because of another reason. So this Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah istilal is not, I think, it's not 100%. So it may be that we don't know. There's no nas to say whether you can meet malak in a human form. If Allah sends malak as a karama, as an honor in this dunya, sometimes there's no nas to say yes or no. But that dalil to say it can't happen, that istidlal doesn't seem correct because of this. Wallahu alam. Yes? The malaika can maybe because of any other reason possible. Wallahu alam. Acha. Are you guys following? Any questions so far? Acha. Now I said to you before, we had this last part of the text here. So the Prophet said, so lakin, you can't achieve that state of remaining in when you are with me, the state that you can't have that all the time. But he said, lakin ya Hanzala, sa'atun wa sa'atun thalatha marrat. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, sa'atun wa sa'atun thalatha marrat. The Rawi said. Now, sa'atun wa sa'atun thalatha marrat has two possibilities. One is sa'atun wa sa'atun times 3. Sa'atun wa sa'atun, sa'atun wa sa'atun, sa'atun wa sa'atun. And this is very easy meaning. Sa'atun indi, sa'atun in the nas, sa'atun indi, sa'atun in the azwaj, sa'atun indi, sa'atun. You have one time you're with me, and in that time you focus fully on the hereafter. And then you have a sa'a where you're at home, you have your human needs, your wife, your children, your business. Sa'atun wa sa'atun is how it works. Alhamdulillah. You understand? Yes? The next possibility is, he said sa'atun wa sa'atun wa sa'atun, meaning, he said the word sa'a 3 times. If you say this 3 times, then people have then, I mean, this is also speculation, but it's very easy to understand. Because he also said, we have 2 states in the hadith, isn't it? When you have Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and when we're not Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we can easily assume that it refers to 1 when you're by me and 1 when you're away from me. When it comes to 3, then what are the 3? The ulama have said different things, etc. Are you following? Acha. So the Prophet is saying, don't worry, this is what happens. And this is what is a Sharaf Riyadh al-Salihin. His name is Al-Lan, As-Siddiqi. He writes a good Sharaf Riyadh al-Salihin. And he says, Hada al-Kamal. This is what it is, this here. 1 sa'a for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 1 sa'a when you're in your family needs. وَمَا أَدَاهُ تُرَّحَاتٌ وَخِيَالٌ. Meaning, to get something like, every single moment, never ever forget. Like, this doesn't really happen. The Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala, and they spent the time with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they were in his company. Sayyidun Nasi Ba'd al-Anbiya, he said that I had the same situation. So that's what you have to have sa'atun wa sa'atun. So some have sa'atun wa sa'atun, some have sa'atan wa sa'atan. If it's sa'atun wa sa'atun, then we say the meaning of that meaning, ay sa'atun lak wa sa'atun li rabbika. Yes? Sa'atun laka wa sa'atun li rabbika. Yes? It will be the khabar of, it will be mubtada, and it will be mubtada because sa'atun, ay sa'atun wahidatun. So because it's nakira ma'rifa maqsusa, it becomes mubtada, sa'atun li rabbik wa sa'atun li nafsik. The mubtada and the khabar comes li rabbik. If it's sa'atan, then we will say here, ay u'bud rabbaka sa'atan. U'bud rabbaka sa'atan. Or khussa sa'atan li rabbik. Keep one for your Lord, and keep one for yourself. So it's either maf'ulun bihi, or a fa'al mahdhuf, or it can be a mubtada. It can be a mubtada. Yeah, is that clear? Yeah, so you're not going to get perfection. You just keep trying. Now from here, this one must like I mentioned. You have to remember sometimes there's istilah. So you could call something whatever you want. Like for example, like people have come to agree that we call the thing after the verb, which shows the doer, the fa'il. There's not come in the Quran, there's come in hadith, maf'ul bihi, maf'ul mutlaq. These things don't come in hadith. But what do we do? It's just something that it's there. We can tell it's there. So wherever you want to call it, this thing exists. What do we have here? What exists? This exists. That we find in human beings, you have 2 things. One is a permanent state. Now, normally we call the permanent state a maqam or a manzil. And the temporary state, they call it a hal or a mawjida. I'm not sure if that's singular, but the plural is mawajid. What does this mean? Like, you have 2 states. You have like, for example, a temporary state is, let's say you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you feel like crying, you feel a full attention towards the hereafter, you think about Jannah and Jahannam. That's a hal. That's a mawjida, mawajid, that it comes and it goes. These things don't remain all the time. Like how Hanzallah radiyallahu ta'ala was saying, تُذَكِّرُنَا بِالسَّاعَةِ كَأَنَّا رَأْيُ أَيْن كَأَنَّا رَأْيُ أَيْن. That's a hal. It comes, it goes. These are ups and downs. You are performing salah, you feel a real enjoyment, a real feeling of consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the real thing is a maqam. A maqam happens slowly. It's like, for example, like, you can score a fluke goal. Yeah, a fluke goal. That's just, we always call it a fluke. But when people are like professionals and they practice over and over again, then that fluke becomes not becomes a fluke. It becomes that's how they train. That's how they play. Are you following? They have a cricket shot and they do something. They turn the bat and it goes like this. Like, how do you do that? Like that's just like luck. But when they train and practice, and it becomes their hal, their state. They can do that naturally. They can play 360 any way they want. So they hit there, hit there, hit there. You do all these football moves. But similarly, in our thing, we start off with amal, and our amal is what keeps us on a high. It brings us to a certain level. And these things that come and go, these ahwal, thamarat, they're from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ni'mah, they come and they go. The main thing is that what you learn, how Hanzalة radiallahu ta'ala, the main thing he learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is iman. That iman never went away. That's a permanent quality. Even when they were at home, they don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Jannah and Jahannam as they would remember when they were with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but they still remembered Allah enough that they did not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that was a maqam. And the consciousness, full consciousness of Jannah, as if they're seeing Jannah, was a hala from the mawajid. That comes and goes. Yeah, so whether you call it maqam, or hala, manzil, or mawajid, these are all like names, but nonetheless, from this hadith we understand that the Sahaba also had permanent qualities, permanent behavioral characteristics, and then temporary feelings, emotions, ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which came and went. Fahim? And the more a person does ta'ah, a more a person has ilm, a more a person has ma'rifah, then the ahwal can become like mawajib. Are you following? Like for example, you read Quran, like let's say you go to Haram, you hear the Quran, you feel so nice. But then if you practice reading Quran yourself, if you learn the meaning of the Quran yourself, you take time out and you read Quran every day, then that feeling you had, which was like a temporary state, which you had once in a while, the first time you went to Makkah, first time you heard the Haram recitation, that can become your own state afterwards, your permanent state. Yeah, so some of these ahwal, by practice, becomes a long-term quality. You understand? Yes, for example, like for us, we're amateurs. We hear one bayan about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one lecture about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We feel this love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's a hal. And after it goes away. But if we continue reading the seerah, we continue studying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we try to inculcate the love of the Prophet in our life. Even when we leave that gathering, when we're walking, when we're talking, we just think about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How would he walk? How would he talk? How would he sit? How would he behave? How would he converse? How would he? Then that becomes our temporary state, becomes our permanent state. Understood? Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.